Welcome to the Community Championship podcast, hosted by me, Matthew Williams, Tournament Director for the Community Championship. Today I'm joined by the Queen of Speed, Amy Williams, and no, we are not related. Amy is a mum to two energetic children, but before she was a mum, she won Olympic gold, going over 90 miles an hour in an event called the Skeleton at the Winter Olympics, giving her the nickname the Queen of Speed. Amy is now a TV presenter, motivational speaker, charity ambassador, has an MBE, runs a successful PT training business, and is the author of Talent to Triumph: How Athletes Turn Potential into High Performance. So, Amy, do you think confidence is contagious?
Wow. Yeah. Hi. I think confidence, success, it just breeds success. When you see other people around you being super successful, that I think can give you a confidence and a boost that you can do the same. So if you've watched someone do something that you thought was just impossible to be able to do, and you're like, oh, they managed to do it. Hang on a minute. What skill set do they have? Do I have the same? Can I try and strive to be that person too? Then I think that just puts that extra little positivity within you that you can strive to do the same. And I think all of that builds up confidence. I wasn't the most confident athlete. And for me, I had to get my confidence from preparation and planning and kind of knowing that I'd prepared and worked harder sort of in the gym and all of that side of it. And that kind of boosted me and gave me the confidence that I could go out and achieve something.
Definitely. So you have competed your second run out of 4 and are going into day 2 in gold medal position. What's your mindset and feeling after an amazing day 1?
Yeah, you know what? It's a tough situation to be in. In our sport, in World Championships and Olympic Games, you race over 2 days, like you've just said. So that's 2 runs, go to sleep, wake up, and do another 2 runs. You can't drop any of those runs. They have to be all really consistent. It's not like if you do one terrible one, you can kind of like get rid of it. And so, yeah, it's quite a skill to be able to be that consistent. And to be fair, my kind of middle name as an athlete was like Miss Consistent. I was so consistent, almost annoyingly sometimes, because you just wanted like one to be super fast. But I think that's also a positive thing, that if you can do all the same preparation in your training to then your race day, then everything is super consistent. So for us in skeleton, when you put down 2 runs, I knew I was in first place. I kind of had to park the actual position of first place, just put it to the depth of my brain. Because for me, thinking about that is actually not going to make me a better athlete or make me go faster. I knew I just had to do the same thing, do nothing different, prepare my sled in the same way, eat all the same things that I would normally do, warm down, cool down, and do all of that same stuff that I do day in, day out. And then, waking up, I was nervous, it was excited. The fact that I had been in this position so many times before, but I'd never quite won a race. I was always second or third or fourth. And so I think it was more finding that place of calm within the craziness of what was going on in your brain and knowing, well, this is the Olympic final. I have 2 runs. They have to add up. I have to nail them. I have to be as fast as possible. But then ultimately you strip all that away and you're doing your day job. You're doing the exact same thing, that training, that preparation, the planning. And so you stand on that start line and do what you know you can do. And coming back down to that confidence of, I know I'm in the best shape of my life. I know I'm the best athlete. I know I've prepared in the best way. So take a deep breath, do what you do, smash it out, and ultimately go and enjoy yourself. You've worked so hard to be in this place. Go and have fun. And so I guess they were my kind of final thoughts. Plus, there's a cameraman stuck on my shaking legs and I'm shaking like a leaf. Oh, help, the world is watching my legs shake. Crazy little silly things pop into your head at the same time.
So now preparing for your gold medal run, and from the video, you look so focused, as you might say, like in the zone. Can you remember what was going through your mind, or was it all just a bit of a blur?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of all of that. Definitely that 4th and final run. I still knew I was in the lead. I'd put down another track record on that 3rd run. So that first run of that last day. But it was really trying to take this deep breath of, come on, you can do this. If it's meant to be, it will be. And, put all of this, everything you've ever done into this final run. But for sure, I mean, I don't really remember the second half. I remember kind of getting to the bottom. And in our sport, it's not like your 100-meter sprint where Usain Bolt can sort of look around and not see anyone there. You're flying up an outrun, which is super steep. You can't actually really see how steep that finish run bit is. We don't have brakes. You're trying to slow yourself down. The crowd are cheering and being crazy, but you don't really know that they're cheering for you. They could be cheering, and as it happens, for the German girls that came second or third, or without me knowing it, I might have slipped down a position and they might be cheering that one of those German girls came first. You don't quite know. And so, when the sled finally slows down and very unglamorously, you hit into a load of foam to try and slow down. My coach, who was at the bottom there, and he's the one that hugs me. And I have to whisper, like, well, where did I come? I hadn't looked at the timing board at this point. It's all gone a bit crazy. And he's the one who whispered, "You're Olympic champion." And then you're like, oh, wow, I did it. I finally did it, And then you're kind of a bit stumped. I didn't really know what to do. You're suddenly like, okay. And I mean, looking back at it, I still had my helmet on my head and, someone giving me a flag. And you're like, why didn't I just take a deep breath, take my helmet off, take my hood off, fluff my hair up? Why didn't I just organize the flag around me nicely? It's in a right old mess if you look at photos. But obviously, I never really thought about that moment because for me, like I said, it was all about the preparation, doing those process goals. Don't really ever think about the outcome. Just think about the process goals. If I do all of them right, that outcome of winning will happen. And so, it is all a bit of a blur and a mess and this crazy kind of magical moment. But the main emotion was just the overwhelming feeling of relief. I've done it. I finally did what I knew I could do. And I've done it when it matters, when it counts. And, the peaking of all your training, knowing that you were in the best form of your life, everything came together for that, 2 days in your life.
It's the biggest sporting event in Aramco history, with over 5,000 participants competing in over 90 events and over 50 nationalities showcasing 20 sports. The Community Championship. The opening ceremony for the finals is happening in Dhahran on the 26th of March from 9 a.m. With live music and entertainment, food stalls from around the world, and fun activities for children and the community. See you there.
So, what was a young Amy Williams like at school and in sport?
I come from a family. I've got a twin sister and a slightly older brother. We were the kind of just outdoors kids. Sunday afternoons was always going for a walk. My dad had arranged a walk that was meant to be an hour and it turned out to be like 4 or, that sort of thing. We didn't really grow up with a TV, computer. We were just out in the garden. So we were very sort of outdoors, out you go. I think literally my mum had a bell or something to call us in for dinner. At school, we did swimming lessons and swimming as we grew up. I then found the local athletics club that I loved, from 1 day a week to 2 days a week to 3, getting up to 4, gradually building up the amount that I trained over the years. And secondary school, every sport that you could do, I would do it. And in senior school, all of it, I did really love it. And then, I guess the passion really came into the athletics around those kind of teenage years. Wanting to always better yourself. It was always, can I knock off, a tenth of a second? Can I lift that little bit heavier in the gym? That extra hill rep on a Sunday morning that you were trying not to be sick at the end of, that weird kind of pain over pleasure feeling, but just pushing yourself and seeing how strong and how fast you could get to. So it was always a very internal drive. And then I guess for me, I've lived in Bath since I was 6, 7. And yeah, finding skeleton was very much, I guess, a fluky thing. They had just built the start track in 2002 for those Salt Lake City Winter Olympics. So the start track at the University of Bath, which is where I happen to do all my athletics training, is where a bobsleigh or a skeleton can slot onto like these metal train tracks, and a different kind of sled slots on. And you just practice that biomechanical sprint start. And I sort of invited myself along one day, having got chatting to some people in the gym who happened to be skeleton athletes and bobsleigh athletes. And so I just sort of nosied myself down to this start track and gave it a go. And yes, had a kind of, I guess, natural ability, but then from the sprinting and that power and speed, and that's certainly how we talent ID athletes now, yeah, I got myself into it. And I think that's a real thing these days, is that kind of talent ID and athletes switching maybe one sport to the next, sort of looking at what kind of attributes you have. Are you good at jumping? Are you explosive? Are you good at thinking, agility, and all those different things to suit set sports? So yeah, I guess it was just sort of, okay, I happen to live in Bath. There happens to be this push track that I've investigated, talked my way into a training session. And then I actually joined an army ice camp in October 2002 to give it a go on the real thing, on the ice, and to see what it was like. And I guess the rest is history. Obviously, an incredible amount of hard work between then and the Olympics and some very highs and very lows. But yeah, that's for me how I found the sport.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think it's always really easy to think that everything is golden and perfect for someone like yourself. Would you be okay to discuss some of your challenges and maybe the low moments as well?
You know, I think any athletes have highs and lows. There's definitely like barriers in front of you, whether they're simple barriers such as, you know, we're an ice sport and we don't have an ice track. That's quite an obvious one. Or, you know, if you don't live near a swimming pool and you have to travel, you know, miles to get to one, you know, that obvious kind of equipment situation and your environment. And then I think any athlete knows there's very big highs and lows, especially when you get injured. You know, that's definitely a big one for me. Injuries, recovering from operations. For me, my back and my knees have always caused me a lot of issues and hassle. But, you know, I always say to young athletes, you know, an injury, you know, you can really come out of an injury super strong and way more positive and stronger than you were before. I think I learned through many knee operations and time out with my back was it allows you to concentrate on another area of your body. And there's still training that you can do, even if you're hobbling on crutches with a knee that's just been operated on. You can still do so much training. You can then focus on something else. For me, psychology work or learning my track or learning my sled and my equipment better. So you can always focus on something else and focus on something positive, even though maybe an obvious thing has been sort of closed in front of you. It's learning to work with things around you. You might not get on with everyone in your team, for example, but you've got to learn how to cope and work with who and what is around you. Taking your own kind of accountability into your own hands, you know, do your own research, you know, investigate things and get more knowledgeable yourself as a young athlete into training and nutrition and help. You know, look outside to see whether or not you need help from other areas. Talk to older athletes and get any advice. I mean, yeah, not making a team. I mean, I didn't make that Turin Winter Olympic team in 2006. You know, that was a really tough thing to have to handle. But you know what? In hindsight, it was probably the best thing that happened. You know, it gave me this boost and this energy and this fire in my belly for 4 years to do everything possible. Every single decision of every single day was only aimed at, will this make me a better athlete? Will this get me to go to Olympics? Yes or no? And, you know, every day for those 4 years until that Olympic race in Vancouver, you know, it was striving to make sure I didn't miss out on the next place. So again, silver lining out of a real low point to, give yourself a positive outcome.
You're known as an amazing team player and someone that competes with no fear. Where has the value of team come from in an individual? You're known as an amazing team player and someone that competes with no fear. Where has the value of team come from in an individual sport like skeleton and the 400 meters? I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, I think it's really realizing, and I always had quite a mental picture. And actually, yeah, I can't remember what chapter it is in my book. I've actually physically got a picture of, the athlete in the middle, and you've got all these circles of people around you. And it's a really nice image to kind of have in your head. The closest circle as an athlete might be that coach that you see every single day shouting at you in the gym, or let's just say you play hockey. Is it your hockey coach? Do you have a skills coach? Is it the person who is in the restaurant feeding you food? That's probably the next layer out. But, is it your parents, your siblings, your friends? What's your support system around you? And then you have those outer layers in the sport. Is it actually the receptionist who works for the sport booking your flights? Is it the physio? Is it the doctor? Is it someone in the coffee shop? Or, those next outer layers. And I think you suddenly realize you as an athlete can't do it alone. You don't go through life sailing away, never speaking to anyone, never getting any help from anyone, never getting any advice. You've always got this team of people around you. And so I think even in that individual sport, you might be you with yourself and your sled and an individual athlete. But, I've still got my coach next to me, helping me slide better, faster lines. I've still got a second coach making me strong in the gym. You've still got your parents who are on the end of the phone, giving you that support and the love and the encouragement. So I think that's where I've always realized and had those things all around me to really realize, hang on a minute. Yeah, I don't get this gold medal by myself. You have to realize you need and you have all those people around you. I would love to have known what it was like to be in an actual team sport sometimes. I see the hockey girls winning their gold, and you're like, wow, or the netball, and you're like, oh my goodness, yeah, what would that be like to have actually teammates? But yeah, I think with everyone, you all support each other. And from the very first conversation we had, success breeds success. And when you see all those other people doing well, it's a knock-on effect onto you to push yourself even harder.
You're now Olympic champion and then transitioned into the world of media and TV. How did you make that look so seamless?
I guess a very sort of subtle journey. I never really thought about it or had much of a plan apart from, just give everything a go. I ended up sort of just saying yes to everything to begin with. And, I took a bit of time out after the Olympics, and then I competed for another 2 years and ended up retiring in 2012 because of, lots of reasons and the body breaking down and having enough. And I realized, I need to open up a new chapter. And so, yeah, like you said, it was TV opportunities, the whole corporate speaking, motivational talks. You realize, you've got this story, you've got an unusual sport, and I can share how I managed to win that gold. We don't even have an ice track, and how you do find those little 1% and how you can improve that life to be able to go out and achieve. And so, yeah, I guess I really enjoyed going into businesses and to be able to talk that. And although, yeah, definitely a nerve-wracking thing to begin with. I'm, not a public speaker. I find that really nerve-wracking. But I guess nearly 12 years later, it's definitely just become the norm. I don't really worry about it anymore. And I think like anything, you practice at it, don't you? And you get better. And it's really lovely meeting new people and inspiring people. And I think that's what gives you the buzz, whether it's little school kids who are 5 or 6, or your teenagers, or your business men and women. parents that I meet, your medal lights up everyone's face and inspires people. And I think that's a really lovely, lovely thing. So yeah, that aside, I guess, I've learned now to try and say no to things. It's juggling, because it does get quite overwhelming, I think, when you're trying to do so many things, because you just want to say yes, and definitely a pleaser, and I want to try and do as much as I can and cram. Definitely a bit harder now as a mum to 2 boys and running my own business now as well as a personal trainer. And yeah, as we said before, just written a book. Don't know how I managed to do that in lockdown. And it's definitely been something that's been brewing in me since the Olympics. So it's been really amazing getting all of my tips and lessons and it all on paper to really help that next generation, and specifically for teenage athletes, but to really help them improve their performance by all the lessons that I learned as an athlete. So yeah, that's been a massive achievement. It's like my third little baby. So yeah, it's been really enjoyable as well.
So as a mum, how much value do you put into your children being active and showing a passion and purpose for something? I'm sure ideally sport, but maybe not one where you're throwing yourself down an ice run at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sport is really important. I mean, my sons are only 4.5 and 2.5. We do like to at weekends get out as a family. Right, let's get the bikes out, cycle down the road to the local park, run riot for a bit, maybe bring a football so they can kick around a bit, come home. And if they want a movie on, right, now it's time to try and sit on your bottom still. I mean, for us, putting a movie on is a skill of trying to sit on your bottom for more than 5 minutes. But we try and have that, kids, they need downtime. There are definitely moments when I realized they probably had the iPad for way too long, but we just try and balance it out. And yeah, the oldest one is actually in rugby tots. So my husband, he's in the military, and he used to play football actually really well and rugby. And so that's a big thing for him. We would love them to love sport. We'd love them to enjoy it. I'd love them to be competitive. But ultimately, with any athlete, teenager, and I get a lot of parents asking me, my parents never pushed. They were always there supporting, and they were always there in the background, driving me up and down the country for athletics competitions, driving me up and down to airports at 3 a.m. But if I wanted to quit at any time, I'm sure they would have been like, okay, fine, it's your decision. I mean, I've never asked them that actually. So I think ultimately, yes, you can lead them in the right direction, and the positivity of sport for your mind, your body, your whole soul. We all feel better when we're active and those endorphins are flowing. And I think as kids, and for mine, it's teaching them to listen. It's teaching them control. It's, trying to get them into teams and learning and sharing and, all those fundamental skills that you also need to have in life. Yeah, I mean, next I'll definitely put them on an athletics club list, because athletics, I think, teaches you so many skills. And all top athletes that I know started off doing some kind of, multi-skill athletics. So yeah, there's a little plan, but obviously not. They might absolutely hate sport and love music or science or maths, and that's fine. So long as they have a passion, so long as they strive and they want to achieve something, then I'm okay with that.
So, Amy Williams, what does the future hold for you?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for kind of COVID just to relax a little bit so I can, go into schools and, talk to athletes and, take my book and explain and show people. But I mean, close on the horizon, we've obviously got the next Winter Olympics happening. So I will be working and presenting on those Olympics. So that's, super exciting for us. It's less than a month. 4th of February is the opening ceremony. So that's quite a big chunk. And yeah, I have some wonderful personal training clients that I train from home in my own gym that I'm sat in now. And that's great. I absolutely love my clients. I love seeing them get healthier and fitter and stronger and more confident, and sort of juggling all of that, still with the odd corporate talks and, whatever work might come in. and clearly trying to prioritize family life amongst all of that. So no day, no week is ever the same in my life.
So the crescendo question, Amy, is if you could pass on a lesson to improve someone else's life, what would it be?
I mean, if you were about to say what's your big lesson you've learned in sport, and, I always kind of try and tell people to listen to their gut feeling, but that's not quite to help someone else's life. I think we always know what's good and bad and right and wrong. And if something doesn't quite feel right, I think it's always trying to be open-minded and always helping other people. I think we've all got so much to give someone else, and to always offer support and offer help and sort of stay humble to yourself. And sometimes you might be having an awesome day and then you might not, and the other person might be struggling. But I think if we're always kind of quite an open book of willingness to help and support and, sort of be that ear to listen to, I think if we all become a little bit more like that, then the world's going to be a better place.
So, Amy, thank you so much. It's been unbelievable just to kind of get a better understanding of everything you've been through, the ups and downs. And yeah, I hope people enjoy this as much as I have. So thank you again.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this episode. The Community Championship is the biggest sporting event in Aramco history. The opening ceremony for the finals is happening in Central Camp on the 26th of March from 9 a.m. showcasing the finals of junior touch rugby and the 10K, with live music and entertainment, food stalls from around the world, and fun activities for children to get involved in. We look forward to seeing you. Keep listening for the next episode of the Community Championship podcast.